Let me explain the importance of going through Corey Feldman's claims. Besides the fact that he exhibits a clear infatuation, or obsession as he would call it, with Michael Jackson, and as some viewers have suggested, seems unable to accept responsibility for his own actions or mistakes or failures, etc., much like other false accusers that we know. I wanted to dig into the claims made against him to see if there was a common pattern, and what I found was enough evidence to indicate to me, as a layperson, that his accusers were possibly telling the truth, which lends them the benefit of doubt, just as I gave him the benefit of doubt in the early days. We saw this same example with Harvey Weinstein's accusers, and not only did they have recordings, etc., but they also had actively reported to management and others at the time, rather than simply posting about it on social media or giving exclusive interviews to the media in what would seem like a coordinated attack. We also saw the same type of evidence to indicate to us as lay people produced by Johnny Depp to prove his innocence against Amber Heard's claims. The mere existence of this book alone is justification for looking for evidence, plus the fact that we found ample evidence to convince us of Feldman's possible misdeeds or Weinstein's actual misdeeds and Johnny Depp's innocence. This is all just further justification for asking the relevant questions and finding answers. This is about Sarah McNeely. She basically says the same thing as everybody else, and it was released on the same day as everybody else. But we'll read through it anyway. He, Brian Warner, aka Marilyn Manson, lured me in with love bombing, posing as the perfect boyfriend, claiming he was just misunderstood. Charming, smart, funny, charismatic. As he was wooing me, I would come to find out he was torturing others. Before long, I was the one being tortured. You would come to find out he was torturing others, but you find that out in February. Before long, you were the one being tortured, which is kind of a bit backwards. I was emotionally abused, terrorized and scared. I was locked in rooms, and when I was bad, sometimes forced to listen to him entertaining other women. Kept away from certain friends, or if I didn't, he would threaten to come after them. I was told stories of others who tried to tell their story, and their pets ended up dead. Marilyn Manson's an animal lover, and he's got several of his own pets, but anyway. I wasn't allowed to go near other artists working on the same set, as he told me they had AIDS and were disgusting, and if I did so he would be very upset, and I wouldn't want that. I was verbally berated for hours upon hours, blamed for everything under the sun in order to make me feel worthless. Any male friends in my life were not allowed any longer. He threatened to shank one of them after they posted something on my Facebook page. Shanking's a prison term. Did that come from Sons of Anarchy as well? I was thrown up against the wall and he threatened to bash my face in with a baseball bat he was holding for trying to get him to pick out a pair of pants prior to a music video. I witnessed him staging problems or hiding missing objects in order to justify his violent outbursts. I witnessed him recording others unknowingly in order to have blackmail on almost anyone who entered the meat locker, as I called his home. It was kept at a chilly 62 degrees always. I witnessed him terrorize and abuse others in my presence, slander his exes. I have been afraid to bring any spotlight upon myself, as to avoid winding up in his crosshairs again. As a result of the way he treated me, I suffer from mental health issues and PTSD that have affected my personal and professional relationships, self-worth, and personal goals. I believe he gets off on ruining people's lives. I stand in support of all that have and all that will come forward. I want to see Brian held accountable for his evil. So, who is she? IMDb says that she's an actress known for Shooter in 2012, Murder Dolls, My Dark Place Alone 2010, and Marilyn Manson's album Born Villain 2011. And she has one credit in Phoenix Rising. Surprise, surprise. I did not find any separate court papers for Sarah McNeely suing Manson, nor the other way around, but I would hazard a guess she's probably going to be deposed in one of the other lawsuits, whether it be his lawsuit against Evan, Rachel Wood and Ilma Gore, or other lawsuits against him. Okay, so it seems that the open source investigators have worked out who Jane Doe is. So in February 2021, Chloe Black made allegations against Marilyn Manson through Instagram. She would later file a lawsuit under the name Jane Doe, and they feel that she was just protecting her identity, but the allegations were public and read so similarly to the court documents it was immediately clear who Jane Doe was. Chloe Black and her lawyers have repeatedly stated that she repressed her memories of abuse, and that she started reading the testimonies of other alleged abuse victims of Marilyn Manson is when her repressed memories came flooding back to her. How convenient. From what I understand, both Jane Doe lawsuits have been thrown out because they still didn't meet the statute of limitations. Chloe is an Australian-born French singer. She's multilingual apparently, and it seems like she only ever went to the movies with Marilyn Manson once, and this is made evident by the lack of photos of them together. But there is one photo snapped by Manson's assistant Ashley Walters, again another common connection. But the sheer lack of paparazzi shots of them out and about together indicates they didn't have a relationship. So perhaps it really was just a night at the movies with Walters in tow. Similar to Chloe Black, the artist Gabriella has never been seen with Manson by the paparazzi. In fact, the only photo of her with Manson that anybody can find is on her Instagram, and it appears to be a selfie, like a fangirl selfie. Despite initially making some huge allegations against Warner, she has since deleted everything, and she has not proceeded with any legal filings whatsoever. It seems that her timing, which is also the same time as the other women posted on Instagram, was also coordinated.
A huge scandal of the allegations against Harvey Weinstein, and of course one of the most prominent alleged victims is one of your ex-partners, Rose McGowan. And an interview recently, Dita Martesh, your ex-wife, said she had heard rumours about this. Were you surprised by it?
I'm not surprised by it. I didn't really know much about it when I was with her. I just think that I don't want it to turn the whole world's attention from the artistic element of Hollywood and movies and films to be ruined by this, because it takes away from, when there's serious allegations, and there are always allegations, of course, but it's when someone starts complaining about something that happened that seems a little bit not as serious as really sexual assault, because I think that's insulting to people that have been sexually assaulted, and it pisses me off that when someone says, "Oh, someone gave me an inappropriate gift" or something, that's not the same as being harmed. And I'm a very vengeful person, so I'm very protective of loved ones, especially in relationships. But I never really, that wasn't part of our relationship in the past, and I just don't want to see this turn Hollywood into something that takes away from films being made and and that's not to disrespect the people that are saying these allegations. I just think that if you have something to say, you should say it to the police, not to the press, and handle it that way first and foremost. And that's what I would do. But, you know, the things that happened to me growing up as a kid is nothing that I'm going to talk about or complain about. I mean, I'm guilty as charged when it comes to writing a book and talking about my childhood, but I'm not trying to make it into a crazed thing where I can't turn on my phone every day without someone being accused of something. Now, maybe it's all men are bad, or all men can't do anything inappropriate. You know, it makes you feel like you can't even, like, say, like, I meet her and say, if I could look at her the wrong way, I'm going to be accused of something wrong. I think the world needs to balance itself out with what's the proper way of dealing with this type of situation. And I don't disagree with, you know, when you're speaking about my ex-fiance. I don't disagree with how she's handling it. I just disagree with the entire snowball effect that's happened with it, that it could really ruin a lot of things that are, it could ruin a lot of people's lives that don't need to be ruined.
Do you think she should handle it differently then?
No, I don't know. I mean, that's up to her. It's not really my business. If I was with her, it'd be my business. I'm not, so it's not my business. But yeah, I don't blame her for saying it.
Profoundly sad today and disgusted, but I am mostly proud of Evan Rachel Wood and the others who've come forward against Marilyn Manson, my ex. When he was with me, he was not like that, but that has no bearing on whether he was like that with others before or after. It takes time to come forward. And again, I am proud of these women and anybody who stands against an abuser. They steal time. These are time eaters. They steal lives. They steal hopes, dreams, freedom, sexuality, love. And I'm also here to say to the Hollywood cult leaders that have employed him and sanctioned him, and Interscope Records and Sony, who was with him during the Evan period, you know you are accomplices. All the PR managers, agents, lawyers, the Hollywood cult must be stopped.
So Rose has made her stand on this very clear, publicly. And then she went on to publish an Insta story showing some private text that she had sent to Manson, apparently before Evan Rachel Wood came out and named him. It reads, "Hey, I don't know what happened with you and Evan, but tell your reps I am not to be used as a shield. Not now, not ever. If Evan names you or anyone else, I will support her, regardless of my history with you. I hope it's not you, but I have no idea. Do not use the fact that you texted with me recently, after many years, as a way out. Do not use my book, Brave, where I wrote about good times with you, as a defense. I will allow no one to use me." Except Evan Rachel Wood, right? I just find this all a little bit strange because, you know, Johnny's ex-wife, Vanessa Paradis, he didn't even have to ask her to make a statement. She just did. And the same goes for several of his other exes. They just came forward and made public statements. And I guess the weird thing I'm picking up here is just the believe all women mantra. Because I think that Rose McGowan is what we would call the public face of the mantra. And I'm not going to argue that that mantra was not applicable to Harvey Weinstein and the, as it is in civil cases, balance of probability. Because most of the women in the Weinstein case had a good degree of compelling evidence to back up their claims. However, the Manson case doesn't appear to be built on evidence. It seems that the entire thing was built on a number of women coming forward at once, which was in fact one of the points, I think maybe the first or second point, in the Phoenix Act proposal to Congress.
One of the firms behind those undercover agents was Black Cube, an Israeli firm that on their website touts the fact that there are former Mossad agents in their chain of command, and they really pride themselves on being the most elite at this kind of work. False identities, front companies, really the most elaborate kind of human intelligence work in the world.
While agents from the highly secretive intelligence firm, Black Cube, were busy trying to stop negative stories about Weinstein being published, Ronan Farrow from the New Yorker magazine was following their trail.
When I first talked to you, and then we had that conversation at the end of that interview where I said, are there others? And you said, I know there are others.
His entry to their stealthy world came through actress Rose McGowan, who'd accused Weinstein of rape.
A woman named Diana Phillip reached out to Rose McGowan, and over the ensuing months, infiltrated herself into Rose McGowan's life, became her friend. They had ice cream together, and it was all completely fake. This woman, Diana Phillip, secretly recorded tens of hours of audio of her and route it back to Weinstein.
This so-called sympathetic friend, Diana Phillip, was in fact Stella Penn-Pashanak, an ex-Israeli Mossad agent working for Black Cube.
They were also pretending to be members of victim support groups. It doesn't get much lower than that, does it?
No, it doesn't. That is something that I find objectionable.
Philip Siegel is a private investigator in New York City. He says what Black Cube did for Harvey Weinstein was not only unethical, but also legally questionable.
Black Cube insists that it applies high moral standards to all its work. How high do you think they are?
I don't think they held up because they pretended to be people they weren't. And right there, you're not allowed to do that.
We look at details of the contract that was leaked. We're talking about 600,000 US plus 300,000 for a bonus for success rates plus.
Yeah.
Big money.
If your entire reputation rests on success in this, then if you're someone as wealthy as Harvey Weinstein, and if you look at what his legal fees would be, many, many millions of dollars, this is the kind of money that you would want to pay.
And so by being outed, is that a disaster?
Yeah, this did not go well for Black Cube, and that's unfortunate for them. But I'm glad it happened because it does expose what I view as an unethical way of fact-finding, and it's never good for the business when someone really bad gets really famous.
In 2016, Seth was approached by the intelligence agency Black Cube and asked to conduct covert operations for Harvey Weinstein. He claims he was initially told Weinstein was investigating corporate rivals, not trying to defend himself against numerous accusations of sexual assault. Seth was given a hit list of 91 targets the Hollywood producer saw as threats, including the likes of actress Rose McGowan.
When someone's name ended up on here, what did that mean?
If someone's name was listed in red, they're like a top priority target. But basically the idea was go through the list and try and find out who is saying negative things, because he wants a heads up as to what he thinks is going on. He wants it confirmed.
Black Cube certainly knows how to hunt a target. The firm is run by several former heads of Mossad, Israel's elite spy agency. Seth himself was also previously a member of the Israeli Defense Forces.
It's not beat around the bush, Black Cube. It's run by some pretty hard bastards.
It certainly is. I wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of them, but luckily, well, hopefully I'm not.
It's the dark arts, essentially, isn't it?
It is the dark arts. That are we in agreement on? I mean, like, of course it's the dark arts because that's the nature of spying.
Black Cube agents are suspected of intimidating dozens of Harvey Weinstein's accusers. The operatives, in some cases, befriending the women, even pretending to be from victims' support groups, with the intel then being sent straight back to Weinstein. Seth's tactic was simple. The seasoned spy would assume the role of a newspaper reporter, a job he genuinely once had, and then trick his targets into opening up.
Hello?
Hello? Hi.
Oh, hi, thanks for calling back.
That's the exact approach he took when he called Rose McGowan.
And I was just hoping I could maybe talk to you about a piece that we're doing.
So do you have specific questions? Or?
I said to her, like I said to pretty much everyone, I'm interested in doing a piece on life in Hollywood now, in 2017, whenever, compared to life in Hollywood when people started out, say, 20, 30 years ago.
That's straight out deception.
In what sense? Like, I mean, what deception is in, do I have an ulterior motive?
Well, you weren't working on a piece.
Well, if I then, let's say I did publish a piece a month later on life in Hollywood, but I was still passing that information back, is that still straight out deception?
I mean, you're claiming that you're writing a piece. I mean, it's just fanciful.
Yeah, that's a cover. I wasn't writing a piece, but I said that I was because that's a way in. And then if you were looking back at your younger self...
Rose, unfortunately, walked right into the trap.
Well, that's because I actually have a signed document from the time of the attack.
She trusted Seth and opened up to him in this 75-minute phone call, including detailing her abuse by Harvey Weinstein. Information that Seth then sent straight back to the boss.
Would you describe yourself as a moral person?
What does a moral person, I mean, against what benchmark is morality set? As long as I can live with what I do, and I've never had a sleepless night thinking, oh, that's so evil what I do or have done.
But there were alleged victims of sexual assault who, many cases where they say that these double agents came to them, of which you were one of them, and it did muddy the waters for them, and it made them hesitant then to come forward and speak out because they didn't know who they could trust. And like it or not, that silences people.
Sorry, there's one person who says that. That's Rose McGowan.
Black Cube came after you personally.
Yeah.
What toll did that take on you?
I think it shaved years off my life. I think them coming after me spun my brain and still does in a way that's fractured a part of me that I don't think will ever fix. But these are people that hurt people, and that's their job. Their job is to hurt other people, so, I hope they're proud at night.
Rose McGowan was targeted by Black Cube because she was seen as a threat.
I feel scared here. I don't feel safe,
Like many of Weinstein's rape accusers, Rose was intimidated into signing a non-disclosure agreement, paid $100,000 to stay silent.
I went to a therapist in New York for trauma issues, and she suggested I get a puppy.
Almost 2 decades after her attack in the wake of Me Too, Rose finally garnered the strength to share her story. But she quickly learned it wasn't just Weinstein she was taking on.
In your mind, you're at war.
Yes. I have been, ever since I got raped.
But the thing with Harvey Weinstein is he has an army behind him.
He has a real one. But he has an army of spies, lawyers, minions. It's an army of the complicit, of people that they're going to the mat for a serial rapist. Because he makes movies that win an Oscar? What?
Do you see it just basically as evil?
Yes, it is evil. It's literally a web of evil.
It's like she's got a screw loose. She's not hero and I'm villain unless you in a very childlike, someone has to be good and someone has to be bad. I mean, her saying I do the bidding of evil, still I'll probably sleep tonight, I reckon, yeah.
I will mentor you, I teach you, whatever, but you have to, relax with me, have fun, enjoy,
You're listening to Harvey Weinstein in full flight. Part of this secretly recorded audio from 2015 has only just been released.
What? A massage, something fun.
I'm shy.
I know, but a massage, something nice.
Cold, hard evidence of Weinstein pressuring a young woman into his hotel room.
Can I stay on the bar?
No, you must come here now.
Not today, maybe. No.
A little bit.
Please. No, I don't want to.
All right, we'll see.
Threatening her and her career.
If you don't trust me, then we have no reason to do anything, and you will lose big opportunities.
Harvey Weinstein paid $1 million to have that audio destroyed, and it's pretty obvious why. It shows just how sleazy and manipulative the movie mogul could be. But that was just a taste of his tactics. As the woman you heard there, Amber Battalana, found out. Intimidation, attack dogs, media manipulation, they were all part of his arsenal to abuse and silence vulnerable young women. But as you'll see, this victim outsmarted Weinstein. Amber moved to New York at the age of 22 to further her modelling career, and soon after was headhunted by Harvey Weinstein for a casting at his office. That morning, it quickly became clear that while she was there for work, he was there for pleasure.
He kept saying, "Oh, so nice to see you again, so nice to see you again." And anyway, there was a moment he stared at me and asked me, "Is your breast real?" And I'm like, "What? Yes?"
First, it was Weinstein's eyes on Amber. Quickly, it was his hands.
It was first my breast, and then he put his hand on my leg and tried to kiss me. So yeah, it was very fast. Like, I couldn't even react.
Amber was horrified and fled the office, soon after breaking down in tears and then going straight to police.
When I spoke to the police guy, I said, "Harvey Weinstein assaulted me." And he answered, "Again?" And I'm like, "What do you mean again? This happened before?"
Police were desperate to land the big fish, so asked Amber to take a huge risk. They wanted her to wear a wire and meet Weinstein for a drink at a hotel bar the very next night.
I was so distressed, but I really want people to believe me. Like, it was my voice of a 22-year-old model against, that powerful person. It's like David and Goliath.
Yesterday you touched my breast.
Oh, please, I'm sorry. Just come on. I'm used to that. Come on.
Are you used to that?
Yes, come in. Please come in. On everything. I'm a famous guy.
I'm feeling very uncomfortable right now.
Please come in now. I will never do another thing to you. 5 minutes. Don't ruin your friendship with me for 5 minutes.
It's amazingly brave that you managed to record this, because when you listen to Harvey in that mode, he's scary.
Yeah, it is scary. I mean, you have big, strong man in front of you, and you know that is aggressively pushing with his words, but for sure at one point is gonna push with his body.
This recording was exactly what police needed. They brought Weinstein in for questioning the following day. But he fought fire with fire, spearheading a salacious smear campaign in the media to intimidate and discredit his victim.
She once filed a sexual assault suit against a 70-year-old, quote, sugar daddy.
It worked. Amber found herself under siege when she met with the district attorney's sex crimes chief a few days later.
First moment I saw her, I said, "Great, she's a woman." First question she asked me, "Were you a prostitute?" And I'm like, "What, sorry? Did you hear the recordings?" And she's like, "Yeah, I heard that, but could you answer me these questions? Have you ever had a whole boyfriend?"
It must have felt like that was Harvey Weinstein's own personal lawyer attacking you at that stage.
Yeah, I walked out of that room and I said inside my head, "That's not good. That's not gonna be good."
And she was right. Weinstein once again turned to the dark arts, this time paying a friend of the district attorney to dig up dirt on Amber feed it back to the DA's office. Not long after that, the investigation was dropped. Eventually, Amber caved to the constant intimidation and harassment and signed a non-disclosure agreement in return for $1 million. Another victim had been silenced, or so they thought.
For signing this NDA, they asked me to destroy every single piece of evidence of those recordings.
They underestimated you.
Yeah, big time. Very much.
I need to know a person's
I
be
won't
touched.
do a thing.
Thankfully, before submitting to their demands, Amber downloaded a secret copy of the recording and hid it under lock and key for more than 2 years. Now, she's violating that $1 million gag order to share her story and this rare piece of evidence with us tonight. Her message is clear. She will do whatever it takes to show the world that Harvey Weinstein is a twisted and dangerous man.
When you were finally able to release that audio and show everyone just what Harvey Weinstein was like, how empowering did that feel?
I think that day I smiled for 20 hours straight. And me thinking more than myself of all the other women. I did something that helped others. And that's what I, was most proud of myself for doing.
So hopefully you'll understand now why I'm not going on a muckraking spree against any of these women. I'm simply laying out their allegations and then demonstrating the evidence that Manson has to defend himself. And I'm certainly not going to fall into the trap of putting depositions, which are a legal process, into the same category as what Harvey Weinstein did to his accusers. Whatever their past is, or was, or even after they dated Manson, has no bearing on the matter whatsoever, other than the fact that they did appear to be like-minded people at the time that they dated Manson, just as he claimed. We're simply here to follow the legal case as it's presented to the public through the proper channels, and anything outside of that, I am not going to dig into.